Hello, good people. How are you? Welcome to Life It with Lotus. I am your girl, Lotus Rain, and I'm coming here today because I just feel the need to, of course, share my story. Like, I've been through so much, and I've been on this healing journey. It's been a beautiful thing, and I just feel that I can't keep this to myself. I really can't. And it's so much that's going on with me. I just need to talk to somebody, let it be known because you never know who you can help out here. Everybody is going through certain things. So I'm starting off with, first of all, my name is Lotus Rain, and it is such an honor to be here with you all. I hope that you get something from this because, oh my gosh, the testimonies and the stories that I have to tell. Like Life with Lotus is so real, okay? It's so real. Um, I'm starting off today with it's Father's Day. And my dad isn't here anymore. He passed away June 13, 2021. And I just want to talk about him because that's the beginning of my life. And also, his death was the beginning of my spiral. So, but he played a big role in my life. He was very, he was a main factor. He was definitely a main factor in my life. So, welcome to Life with Lotus, Father's Day edition. Hey, y'all. From the beginning of time, my dad has always been just that guy for me. So he's not really my father, he's my grandfather, and he's not really my grandfather, but he's my grandfather. So in 1986, I want to say, um, he married my grandmother, and they were 10 years apart. They met at a place called the Hex Company in Washington, D.C., through my uncle, which was her uncle. They met there. My uncle was, he was an elder of the church. And so he did a lot of witnessing. Like, that was just his thing. And he ended up witnessing to this young guy who had dropped out of school and got his first job. And so he was working at the Hex Company. All three of them were. And then they ended up talking to each other, like about the Bible and about God. He was giving them Bible studies. And then in the process of getting Bible studies and things of this nature, he realized that he had this beautiful chocolate niece that worked there that was doing administrative work. And they ended up meeting and falling in love and getting married. And then my mother, she had me when she was like 19. So I was born like 3 years after they got married. And of course, my grandmother was there. She got the umbilical cord, and my dad was waiting. My dad and my uncle was waiting in the waiting room for me to be delivered, and I basically was kind of sort of with them ever since then. They kept me as a baby. I didn't go live with my mom until I was about 4, about to start school, about to start kindergarten. And it was it was always like an awesome time with them. Like, I never knew him as anything other than daddy. Um, and that's just been what it's been all my life. And that's Daddie because he's my grandfather. And I did have a dad, so. But yeah, it was daddy. It's always been daddy. Nothing no different. I always say that I was their baby together, which I was. Um, and I loved it. I loved it. So, like I said, like growing up with him, it was so cool, especially as a little girl, because I really fell into the whole like daddy's girl role. So like I knew his schedule. I knew when he was going to work. I knew when he was coming home. I knew when he was pulling out the cookies and the milk. I knew it was time to like sit back. I would lay on his stomach and on his chest when I was little and listen to his heartbeat, and his stomach growl. I used to like to listen to his heartbeat and his stomach growl. And I would just lay there forever while we watched TV. And that was something that I did even up until I was a teenager. It was just something that I did. I don't know why. It was weird. But I enjoyed doing that. And sometimes he would purposely like watch the black and white films so that I could sit there and be bored because we only had one TV or one area. Like I didn't have my own room or anything. So he would cut on I would sleep in the living room. Um, so the living room was like really a shared space. And my mom, she always stayed in her room. But he would cut on like the black and white films and things like that. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like, do I really have to sit here and watch this with you? He was the oldest sibling out of all, well, about six siblings, I believe he had. Um, and they grew up not having much. So when he was old enough to buy for himself and not have to share with anybody, oh my gosh, when I say he could be so selfish, it was so many times where he was just so set in his ways. Like he didn't want to share with nobody. He didn't want to get rid of nothing. Like everything just had to stay. It had to be what it was. Um, and he was a very interesting person to know growing up. Um, a lot of the things I didn't realize until now in my life, like some of the things that he would do. So I would um, see him, listening to scripture all day long. He would be playing it. A we had a plastic. It was a big plastic cassette tape player, and it had all the Bible verses in it. It had all the Bible books in it, and he would constantly play that like all the time. And I'll just be like, "Can we listen to some music or whatever?" But it was scripture playing all the time, not realizing that this is the beginning of his spiritual journey. Um, Not realizing that this is him building his relationship with the Lord. He would carry his Bible with him everywhere he went. Um, and just seeing like the changes and stuff that he was going through. Like I said, I didn't realize any of those things until I got older and started experiencing those for myself. But now that I know what it was, I can appreciate it because it's just like I'm doing the same thing with me and my family. And I feel like I'm on the right track because I know where that eventually got him. So, like I said, growing up, he was so like he was just him. I knew him like clockwork because he was very intentional with everything that he did. He didn't do anything without thinking about it or really evaluating the situation first. Um, Very clean, very, very, very clean. Like I've never met a man with hands so soft. Like why are your hands so soft? Like for what? He will wash his hands 1,000 times. He will put lotion on his hands 1,000 times. That man will sit there and clip and file his nails almost every day, every other day. Like, daddy, for real, for real. Um, he just liked everything in a particular way. He had a lot of, and I sad to say, still have some of these things. He had a lot of lunch bags. He had a lot of Ziploc bags. Everything that he owned went into a bag. Why? I don't know. But everything went into the bag. Pens, went into a bag. Man, go get a pencil box. Okay. Napkins went in the bag. Wipes went in the bag. If he had multiple hand sanitizers, they went in the bag. If he had notes like on a sticky bag, they went in the bag. Um, Everything went in a bag. Literally. Literally. He taking extra shoes, slippers, whatever, in a bag. The man had bags. I never understood that part. But when he passed away, that's all we did was went through bags. Like, Daddy, why did you have this in a bag? For what? Um, yeah, he was a very interesting person. Very cheap, very cheap. He wasn't spending, no, he was not spending any money that he did not have to spend. And that is the whole honest truth. He would, we didn't celebrate Christmas. So the first year I moved in with them like permanently. I was 10. They got full custody of me. I was like 10. And because I'm now, the child of the house and I'm still a child, they wanted to do something for Christmas. So we had to, this was like our first negotiation, our first like family meeting. So we don't, celebrate Christmas. We celebrate the reason behind it, far as, Jesus being born. But all out like Christmas, no, we don't do all that. Like I ain't taking no picture with Santa and all that. Like we're not doing all that. Um, so he was like, well, we not putting up no Christmas tree. Check. Already knew that one. Um, Definitely didn't need to put up a Christmas tree because he definitely wasn't about to buy a bunch of gifts. So that was already a given anyway. Um, so he wasn't spending a bunch of money on decorations. I had to pick and choose what I was going to do. And then we wasn't doing a bunch of lights because that would raise up the electric bill. So what we did was we bought some spray paint. He let me spray paint on the windows. Whatever I spray paint on the windows, I don't remember, but it was an easy cleanup. And then we had very few lights, but we did have lights, and those I think went around the window. And I think that was just to boost off what I had put on the window, just to say that they was up there. And we might have had some bows and some maybe a wreath or something like something that looked like it could be house decor, but not really. So um, he he definitely, it was a good half and half. And then after that, I don't think we did it no more. I was just like, well, this wasn't really what I wanted, or it wasn't really, it's not that serious. Like, okay, we can skip decorate for Christmas, whatever. Like, I'll just enjoy the other people's house when I see it. So we didn't really do that anymore. Like, that was a one time thing. He knows how to get you to do something and not really want to do it again if he's not feeling it. So he won that one. Um, but it was it was cool growing up with him. Very different. It was a whole different he was a whole different type of daddy. I don't think that he really knew how to be a father because he didn't, first of all, he had my uncle, um, and he was learning how to be a father to him as he was learning how to be a father to me. And it's totally different when you have a boy and a girl. So he was definitely more, of course, that's his son. They look just alike. So he was definitely more in tune with him. Um, he didn't really start like fathering me until I went to go like live with them and started to grow up a little bit more so into my teenage years. The first early part of me living with them was more of my mom doing it. My grandmother, so she was teaching me like all, the important life skills and things like that. So she was more hands on with me in my earlier years of being with them. She she passed away as well. So both of them are gone. Um, or shall I say not with us. So she did earlier parts of my years. He would have his say so. But um, even with that, like I said, he was very he did his part, like we would spend time together, stuff like that. For Christmas, yeah, going back to Christmas. For Christmas, we would do Potomac meals after Christmas because that's when the sales was going on. So they always wanted to go to J.C. Penney's, like the day or two after Christmas, and that's when I would get my clothes going into the new year. So my mom, she would do the shopping with me for school when school would open up in fall, and then he would replenish or he would add to my school clothes the day after Christmas when everything is on sale at J.C. Penney's at Potomac Mills. Every year, that was a tradition. I looked forward to it because it was fun. And honestly, I rather would have that than the Christmas tree and stuff like that. Like it was memories. My aunt, she always did a big, big, big Christmas situation for everybody. Like she was Santa Claus in the family, even though we didn't celebrate Santa Claus. We knew she was the one buying gifts. So they never, put Santa Claus and all that in our head. It was never a thing. But she always did like for all the kids. So we still had like the Christmas experience. So for me to have it at home, it didn't really matter to me on that. So I enjoy going to the mall. We go to the mall, we go out to eat. I pick what I want. He'll sit there and act like he regulating. Boo boo, that's too short. Boo boo, that's too tight. All that. And I just be like, okay, daddy. I know you had to come because you're paying, but can we do this, please? Like, please, we do this all the time. Let the women handle this one. But he was that, he had to have his say so. Um, but yeah, he was I accepted my dad for who he was, as far as like a person, as far as like his growth, as far as like his individuality. As he started to grow more in the Lord, I could see the difference in him, the things that he, was changing, the things that he was doing. Like I said, it got to where like he wasn't leaving the house without his Bible, but then in the house, like he always had his Bible. It was definitely a second nature for him. It was just a thing for him. Like if he wasn't in the room studying, some way, somehow, the Bible ended up on the dining room table or just laying around somewhere. And I just like, okay, daddy, like, what are you studying? Um, as I became a teenager, I became very curious of certain things. Like, we weren't allowed to go to the movies. And I would ask questions like, why we can't go to the movies? Why we can't do this? Why we can't do that? And his response will always be, well, boo boo. Most of the time, his response will be, well, do that glorify God? Like the decisions or the things that you do, the things that you um, encounter day by day, or your reactions to things and stuff like that. Like, does that glorify God? And it would make me think because did it glorify God? Like, me catching an attitude, is that glorifying God? Me talking about somebody, or me going to me being sneaky, skipping school, did that glorify God? No, and I knew it. I knew it. So if it don't glorify God, then why you doing it? Because we supposed to be here to serve and be a witness and to save souls and to bring people to Christ. But yeah, you sitting there and you blending in with everybody else, like you not doing your part here on earth. to win the people, to get the people. So nothing you should be doing that does not glorify God shouldn't be happening. It made sense to me. Not saying everything that I did growing up or from that point on glorify God, but I definitely kept that in mind, especially now that I'm older. I try to remind myself as I navigate through life that what I do needs to glorify God, especially because I got kids and they're watching. Just like I watched my parents growing up, they're watching me. So my reaction to things, it has to glorify God. And it's very hard because people be trying. They be trying. And that's another thing. Like, I really commend my parents because my attitude back then was terrible. It was so terrible. Like, I was, I was a, I was happy. I was always happy, but I harbored so much anger towards like my birth mother. Um, and at this point of living with them, I had already experienced child abuse and molestation. Um, and my life was just totally different with my mom than it was my grandparents. Um, with my mom, it was definitely more, we lived in DC, and she was a single parent. So we had like a lot of ups and downs as far as like our childhood there. It was very hood, very hood, to say the least. We'll get into that. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But life with my mom was very hood. So, like I said, I had my experiences was so totally different. It was like living a double life at a young age. Um, Not saying that it was, I just felt like I was two different people. Like when I would go to church, it would be with my grandparents. They would come and pick us up on the weekends when I was living with my mom. And mainly my dad would pick us up because he was still working up that way. And we would go to their house. And that's when, the happy go lucky Tamora is on because she's in a safe environment. She could be a kid. Like, she's just happy. So that's what the church folks saw. And then when it was time to go back home, I had to click on the big sister row. And you already know, like the big sister row, I'm the oldest. So the big sister row, that's like second mother. So, while my mom worked, um, helping care for my sister, watching out for my sister, it was never not about my sister. Because that was all she always instilled in us, like we all we got. So she go left, I gotta go left. She don't go home after school. I'm supposed to go home after school, but at the same time, I'm supposed to keep an eye on my sister. So let me come home without having my sister with me. Yeah. So, like I said, it was just like living a double life. So I would go to school, with my mom and all that, go to church with my grandparents, put on a smile face, like, hey, I'm happy, I'm good. And the whole time, it's a lot of other things going on. So when I finally got with my grandparents, like I was just going through it emotionally because I didn't understand certain things. Um, I wanted answers. So like I said, I was very curious and I would always talk to my dad because I felt like he had the answers because he always read the Bible. So it was just like, okay, well, you read the Bible. Y'all told us those are basic instructions before leaving Earth. So what do you know? I want to know what you know. But I think that reading the Bible is more of an adult thing, even though we got children's Bible. But I think reading the Bible is more of an adult thing. I just rather talk to you about it and see what you tell me, and I go from there. And that's how I built my relationship with Christ. Like I would go to my dad, I would ask him 1,001 questions, and we would sit at the table or wherever, and he would open the Bible and read the Bible to me, or help me find the answers to what I asked in the Bible. He would give me memory verses. He did Bible studies with me as well, and he would give me memory verses and stuff to read, things to look up on. So he definitely was my spiritual mentor as I was growing up. And I really appreciated that because we used the Bible to connect. Other than that, me and my dad didn't really have much to talk about. He wasn't, at one point, he liked watching football. He used to be a Green Bay Packers fan, but he didn't really, he got away from that. He shied away from that. So it wasn't, he would watch football, but it wasn't like something I could, hey daddy, they played this and then it wasn't none of those kind of conversations. It was really to connect to him, you have to really come to him through Christ. Like that's all he really cared to talk about at one point in his life, which is crazy because that's where I'm at. Like if we ain't really talking about the Lord, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Because nothing else is important. So yeah, so I just started connected with him through those ways. And then the way that he would teach me, it would be in ways that I could understand. So it wasn't like, just strictly reading the Bible and stuff like that. Like he was teaching me, I guess, in the way that he learned or the way that he was able to comprehend it. And I was able to get it. And I enjoyed it. Like I really enjoyed it. He was like my Sabbath school teacher. He was, like I said, he gave me Bible study. We would just sit and just have random conversations about the things that I was asking. Um, it was just spiritually, it was a beautiful thing um, for him to be that way because it helped me. They allowed me to be me. Like I said, I had emotional issues. I would have random moments where I would just like scream out or get very frustrated. Um, I would just, I would throw stuff. Like I was very emotional. And both of them were very patient, very patient. The main problem I had was my mouth. I didn't know how to, I was very opinionated, and I don't know why, because my mother, she didn't take that at all. Like, I could look like I roll my eyes, or she could think that I roll my eyes, and it's a problem. So I don't know where I got the thought of the freedom, or it was okay to say whatever I wanted. Um, but they allowed me to do that in a respectful way. So it's like, some more you could say what you have to say just respectfully and remember you maybe, maybe talking to an adult. Like, know your place. Know what you're doing. Know you act like you got some sense. Okay? Act like you got some sense. But at this point we know you just really can't help yourself. But just act like you got some sense. Like don't do too much. And see, I at this point I was like 16, 17. So I'm definitely, like really feeling myself at this moment. I'm in high school, and I'm growing into myself and all of that. So they was like, if this is what you're going to be doing, like you need to learn how to control that because you just having a mouth out here in these streets is not going to benefit you at all. So I was like, okay. So that caused me to think before I speak. And I appreciated that. I really did because that taught me a lot about myself. Um, so yeah, he was the elder of the church. Um, he definitely wasn't a typical type of guy. He would come in with his whiteboard and his Sharpies. Like I said, everything was in a bag. Whiteboard and Sharpies, and oh my gosh, let him do a presentation. It's going down. Everybody just looking at him, coming in with all his bags. Just he's very organized. Very organized, don't get me wrong, but when he came, he came. His favorite thing to study and speak on was the sanctuary. He had a beautiful, beautiful drawing. He had particular handwriting. He was very particular. I could tell anything that he write or draw or whatever from a mile away. But he had a beautiful, beautiful thing that he had put together on a poster board of the sanctuary that he drew. And I wish I had it. I really do. But he took his time and he did it, and it was just so amazing. He was a visual person. Like I said, he was a teacher. He was a Bible scholar. Um, and like I said, the way that he would teach would just be so clear, so understanding. You never not walking away from him not knowing or not getting something out of it. Very, 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 he was a genius. He definitely was a genius. And I didn't realize that either until I got older. Um, so we, um, I hit a brick in a road when I was about 16, and I received a phone call that a friend of mine from school had gotten killed at a party on a Friday night. Um, and it was very disturbing. It was very unexpected. I had already just experienced losing my cousin, who I say is my niece because me and my uncle are like 9 years apart. And we grew up in the same house. So even though he's my uncle, he's like my brother. But his twin daughter had passed away like a few months before. And that was a lot for me to handle. And even going back a little further, I had lost my cousin Bucci to in the hands of her boyfriend. I had lost her, and then I had lost my Aunt Lois to cancer. So I started to, and this is from like the time I'm like 10. So, or yeah, about 10. All of this just started happening from up there. So my Aunt Lois and my Aunt Lois and my cousin passed away when I was like 10, 11. And then, not really fully understanding cancer, not really fully understanding how somebody could take the life of someone that they love, supposedly. Like, those weren't the things that I was used to seeing growing up or that I understood growing up. So I had questions about that I never really asked or that just, lingered with me. And that, of course, added to the anger of my life or the confusion of life. Then, like I said, when I was about 15, 16, I lost my little cousin, my baby cousin. And I didn't understand that because she's a baby, she's 9 months. What happened, you know? So that was traumatizing for me. And this is his granddaughter, so it definitely affected our family um, in a way. Then a few months after that, like I said, I lost my friend. He was an all-star player, very good guy, never got into it with anybody, had scholarships on the table, and he wasn't even in his senior year. And he goes to this party, it's his mistaken of identity, and he gets stabbed up. And I get the call about it, and I'm just like, what? Like, are you serious right now? Um, and that just really, really, really threw me off. And it just, I was never the same after that because I started to question God. And it just seemed like all the people that, not all the people, but people that I love that were good people, stuff like that, like, why is this happening to them? And like I said, even with my baby cousin, like, she's 9 months. Like, how? I just didn't understand any of that. And at this point, I had gotten uh, baptized, I want to say when I was like 15. So, and that's when, my cousin passed away, and that's when he passed away. So now that I know, now that I'm older and I understand the spiritual warfare and stuff like that, I understand that, attacks come, things come when you surrender yourself to the Lord. So I didn't know that then. So, like I said, I was just real upset, like just real hurt. And I remember when I got the news, um, it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I started having panic attack. I had my first panic attack. And I was in a room, I just couldn't breathe. Like it was a lot. And for some reason, my dad, he was up. He was up. I could hear him leaving out of his room to go into the kitchen to get some water or whatever. I could just hear his feet go across the floor. And so I ran out there and I was just like, Daddy. And I was telling him what happened. He could tell that I was having a panic attack. Like, when I say I was done, I was done. So he prayed for me so that I was able to calm down and go to sleep, stuff like that. So the next day at church, he was doing the prayer for intercessory prayer, and he called me up to the front, and it was me and him at the altar, and he prayed this wonderful prayer. I don't remember all the words, but I do remember him saying, Lord, please cover her and protect her because she's about to go through some things that she don't understand. And when he said that, I remember that so well because I was like, what you mean? What you talking about, Daddy? What you know that I don't know? And he was right. He was so right. Sad to say. He was so right because that's when I really started to rebel. That's when I really started to, like I said, I was just confused. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand it. I didn't. So I started to act out. Um, Literally, soon as that happened, I didn't want to go to school no more because there was too many memories at school. So I didn't want to go to school no more. And then when I did go to school, like, I'm literally like trying to fight everybody or even the principal. Even the principal, they put me out. They did. They put me out because I was trying to fight somebody. And that didn't go as well because my friend stopped me and dragged me on the other side of the cafeteria. So I wasn't able to fight that person. And where he put me at was in front of the principal. And I wasn't really feeling the principal because he planted a tree in the memory of my friend. And I'm like, this dude done bought you so many trophies and stuff like that, and you just plant a tree. Like, I found it to be um, disrespectful at the time. That was just me. So I ended up cursing out the principal. And mind you, it's peace day. And I was a very peaceful person. Like, everybody loved me. I was all about the peace, all about the love, all that. But this particular day, I was not feeling nobody in no way, shape, or form. So I went from trying to fight Shorty to um, cursing out the principal. And then they had the nerve to put me in the assistant principal office, who I never liked because she used to pick on me because she was Christian and she was a black lady. She was older. And so anytime I would wear anything, because I'm a very fashionable person, as you can tell. But anytime I would wear something, I would walk through the hall and she was like, excuse me, is your fingertips past your skirts? Cause if not, it's t-shirt, like all of it. Like she just would nitpick for no reason. Like, lady, it's 1,000 kids in this school. Why you keep saying something to me? So, out of all people, like I said, they dragged me into her office. And at this point, I don't feel this ain't right because you didn't close the door. I'm in a small space with her. My energy, my aurora is way too big to be closed in right now. So I feel like I'm trapped and I'm a wild animal. And so it's going down. Okay. So next thing I know, desk is flipping. She on the phone with my mama trying to get her to come pick me up. My mother don't want nothing to do with it. She said let her stay there until the bus comes. She come home then to calm me down. She would come get me. I felt like I was a trapped animal. Get me out of here. Why am I in here with you? So yeah, so we had that good old moment together. I got kicked out. That was it. That was the end of my life at that school, which is great. So I ended up getting my GED um, a few months after that. So yeah, like I said, my life started to spiral when I got the tattoo. We was having tattoo because at this point, um, I'm going back and forth to DC because that's where the party at. So I'm going back and forth to DC. My sisters are in DC. I have two younger sisters. They were in DC. My mom was up there. So I'm going up there and up there we having little tattoo parties. I'm hanging with my cousins. Like we here I go back to the double life fam. So I would go to DC, party with them, come back home, go to church, all of that. And then my grandmother was like, ma'am, you're not doing that. Like, you're not doing that. Pick one or the other. Either you're going to be up there or you're going to be down here. Like, we're not having that. So, what do y'all think I did? I moved to DC. Why? Mm. But I did. I moved to DC. Whatever. Um, but like I said, I did at least get my GED. And that happened because the my friend that got killed, one day he came to my job, just randomly came to my job, with some other people that I ain't never seen him with, but apparently they lived in his neighborhood. And they had, been hanging out. So one of the guys was from California and they was riding around trying to find, I guess him, somebody to talk to. So out of nowhere, he popped up at my job thinking that I could be the one to talk to this guy. So he comes in and he's talking to me, and I'm looking at him because I already could tell, like, you've been smoking because this ain't really you. So we really about to be in here going at it because why are you here? Why are you here? First of all, I don't want no boyfriend. I don't have time for that. Ain't nobody good enough. That's how I always felt, honestly. So I never really was one of the girls that like had boyfriends and stuff like that. I had guys that was friends and that was it. And I was cool with that because they loved me, they protected me. I never had a Valentine's Day without a Valentine's Day. Okay? Because most of them had no girlfriends. So it was just like, hey, tomorrow, you want some candy for Valentine's? Yeah, I want some candy. Yes. Oh, tomorrow I saw this bear. I thought you would like it. Thank you. Man, I never, Christmas, they still gave me Christmas gifts. I didn't need no boyfriend. I got guys that are friends. I need a boyfriend for. So, like I said, they were trying to get me to talk to him and all of that. And I'm like, no. First of all, the dude standing in the corner ain't saying nothing. Just standing there with a hoodie on, with his hand in his pocket, just looking in the shadows. No, thank you. First of all, he's too quiet. He ain't saying nothing. What's wrong with him? He's from California and he's here. What'd he do? We don't know him. We don't know where he running from at all. So why you bring him to me? I'm trying to understand. Out of all people, you thought me? Really? Okay. So we had this whole little argument. I wish they could pull it up on the camera because I was working at McDonald's. We had this whole little argument on me talking to the guy and I'm not talking to him. Long story short, when he passes away, I mean we ended up, talking, not really talking, but just knowing each other and passing like, hey, how you doing? Because now at this point we know each other. So hey, how you doing? Blah blah blah, yada yada. Sometimes we'll be on three-way with each other. Things like that. So when my friend got killed, the first thing I thought to do was call him and see if they was together and to make sure he was okay. Apparently he was home. He didn't know anything about it. So I was the one to share the news with him, which was crazy. We ended up being more connected with each other, trauma bond. We ended up being more connected with each other off of his death. And it was cool. It was cool, but that encouraged our relationship more. So when I was once running from him, I was running to him. And yeah, we had our moments. He ended up getting his GED. And I was like, oh, well, if he could get his GED, then I know I could get my GED. So I went and I got my GED in 12 weeks through a program that my aunt set me up with. Because that wasn't an option. Like, if you don't get your high school diploma, you still go get your GED or something, like you're getting something. So I got my GED, and then my dad, because he had dropped out of school and went straight to work, he never got his high school diploma or his GED. And at this point, he had retired from the Hex Company because they closed down. So he was like, shoot, if Boo Boo could get her GED, then I could get my GED. So he ended up, after I finished the program, he ended up signing up and did the same exact program. So that spring, me and him ended up graduating together, walking across my school stage, um, and getting our GED, our diploma, or whatever, together. So that was one of the greatest things that I did with him. And I enjoyed that moment. Like, I really did. I was so proud of him for just going back and doing that so many years later. Because at this point, he's in his 50s or late 40s. So just for him, and this is before like internet and all that was real, like popping. So I was just very proud of him for going back and doing that. And that just shows like you're never too late, or it's never too late for you to continue your education. It's never too late for you to finish something that you thought you couldn't do. He never thought that he would even have to get his GED or high school diploma because he was so secure in his job. But just to go for it like that, like just randomly go for it. Like, hey, she did it. I know I could do it. So, and he did. He really did. And I was so proud of him. So that was a very beautiful moment that we shared with each other. And he sat back and watched me go through the emotions of figuring out what I'm going to do with my life and where I was going to go. He saw me making, wrong decisions. And he wouldn't say much. He would just try to guide me as much as he could without saying too much. Because I guess he felt like if he said too much, it would be a hindrance on me learning. So he let me fall. He let me bump my head. He always knew that I would come and talk to him about it at the end of the day. Uh, and I did. Like, a lot of the things that I went through, that I experienced, I talked to him about it. Um, and that made us closer. Like I said, we didn't start getting closer until like my late teenage years, all the way up, like when I started to experience life and I got something that he could relate to. So it was it was a time where I uh, had an abortion, and I called him, and I was like, I called him, I was like, Daddy, I'm at the doctor, and I just found out that I'm pregnant. And I know that I'm not supposed to do this, but I need you to pray for me because I'm going to have an abortion. And he was like, Are you sure? I was like, Yes, I'm sure that I'm going to have an abortion. And at that time, I didn't know um, what having an abortion consisted of. I didn't know exactly what I was doing spiritually as far as having an abortion. I just knew I wasn't supposed to have an abortion. Um, but I didn't know the ins and out, the details, the covenants, the like spiritually, I did not know any of those things that came with abortion. So I called him and I was like, Daddy, I'm about to do this. I need you to pray for me. Um, because I know that it's not something that I'm supposed to do, but I can't have no baby right now. Like that's just not it. Especially with this, with how my life was set up. Like I didn't have my own place. I was living with my mother. My sister had just had my nephew. We were sharing the living room as a room. It wasn't, I couldn't see that. I just couldn't see that. Um, and then on top of that, I was on birth control. So I definitely was trying to be responsible in that matter. And I still got pregnant on the birth control. So I was not, no, I had no intentions on having no baby. So that was the decision that I made. I told him, and he was like, Well, are you going to tell your mother or I'm going to tell her? I was like, You can tell her. I'm not telling her nothing. Like, I'm talking to you. What you do with this information is up to you. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not telling that lady nothing like this. What is wrong with you? I don't know if he ever told her or not. She never said nothing. I never said nothing. But I'm sure he told her. And then on top of that, I did tell her best friend too. I just needed that extra person to tell. So I told her too. So I'm sure she knew. I just wasn't, I wasn't telling her nothing like that. No, sir. No. Good. So yeah, like he knew a lot of my secrets. I felt very comfortable with going to talk to him about my life, like what I was going through. Like, Daddy, I need answers. I need help trying to understand all of this. Um, so it just, like I said, life was just getting crazy. And, fast forward, I got pregnant. I found somebody that, I felt like I could build life with. And we got pregnant, and I was cool with that. I was comfortable with that. Um, it was a beautiful thing. My pregnancy was, everything was great. My parents was very accepting of it all. It was just, it was great. And I could tell he enjoyed watching me being a mom, like watching me go through that new phase in life and, instilling the things into her that they were giving me. He was I could tell he was proud at my mothering skills and stuff. So, uh, we I always stayed up under them, especially as a mom. I always stayed up under them because I need help. Like, I need y'all to help me instill something. I don't want to miss anything. Like, I don't want to, uh, all the gems that y'all gave me, like, I want her to have anything. I don't care what it is. I want her to see you read the Bible. I want her to see my mom cook and clean and take care of the house. And I want her to see, them going to church and stuff like that. So that when I do it with her, it's not like, well, why we got to do this? What's this? Da, 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 blah, blah, blah. It's something that she's growing up seeing because we didn't go to church every week. The only time we really would go to church is if I would come home and we would go to church then. But far as me at my house with her, like, no, we didn't really go to church. Um, but she knew about the Lord. Like I would read the Bible to her. Like I would do all of those things with her. Um, we ended up when COVID hit, we ended up packing up because I was in DC. I was living in DC. They was living in Virginia. And I was sitting there and I was just like, if they raise these bridges up on this city, because you can't get in and out of DC without going over a bridge. Okay. If they raise these bridges up, I'm not gonna be able to get out this city, and that's not gonna sit well with me. So I packed my stuff up. I came to Virginia, came to live with my parents, came back home, and I was cool. I was good. I was happy. So I spent the whole entire summer with them at home. Um, and of course the churches and stuff is shut down. So we doing it on Zoom, people doing a little drive-by. How you doing? Hallelujah. Good to see you. You stay over there, I stay over here, type situations. And it was cool. It was cool. It was cool. And mind you, this is like 2020. So it was doing this thing. Um, but like I said, I spent that whole entire summer with them piled up in the house because not only did I think to come home, but my aunt, my uncle, and my cousins, they decided that they was going to come up for where they were. And so we were all in this house together, literally for a whole summer because we can't live without each other. Like, this is just how we get down. Okay? Nobody caught COVID, thank God. And we really had the time of our life. Like, we had so much fun being with each other. Um, and it was just a beautiful time. Now, mind you, I did not have no idea that these were some of like my final moments with my dad. So mind you, like this is 2020 and we just getting through the year of COVID and everything is just everything. And then of course, COVID, the winnow down is not as crazy as it was before. So everybody starts to go into their own little life. Um, my dad made it perfectly clear that I was not going to be staying there uh, forever. So I went, I got my own place. Um, and mind you, uh, the same guy that I fell in love with randomly in high school, he ended up coming back home during COVID too. So I'm spending a lot of time with him, reconnected with him. We kept in contact with each other over the years because when we were younger, after he got his GED, he went to the Army. So we kept in contact with each other over the years. We always remained friends. And then with COVID hit, he was like, "Hey, I'm back in Virginia." I'm like, "What you doing here? Like, why are you here?" So, while he was here, we, reconnected, things like that. I ended up like just losing a lot of weight from working out. Like it was really nothing else to do but work out. So I had started working out. I lost a lot of weight, lost like 100 pounds. So I was just like really feeling myself. I left home when I got a townhouse. Um, and it wasn't too far from my parents. It was cool. I just enjoy being responsible, taking care of my daughter. Like, I just felt like I was really on it. I was working, had a nice job, all of the good things. Um, and my friend, he, ended up coming to live with us. And then some things started to change in my life. But my mom, she ended up catching sick. I never really visited her when she went into the hospital because I knew she was always coming home. So I never really visit her, but it was crazy because when my dad would get sick, I stayed at the hospital with him. And I think it was more so because my mom, she wasn't really that type of person. Like her nerves would be bad. So when he would get sick, she really would rather like stay away from all of that. Like she want to know what's going on, but she can't really handle it. So I would always, like be like, "Mom, it's cool. I got it. Like, go ahead. I'll, talk to the doctors, blah, 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 yada, yada." And she'll just, stay home and wait. And for her, I was that one. Like, my nerves would be bad and all that, whatever. So I'll just wait for her to come home. I wouldn't, go to the doctors or nothing like that. And that was even as an adult. Like, I'll go with her to her doctor's appointments and stuff. But if she's in a hospital or rehab, I let her and my dad handle that. He was very hands on with that. So she ended up catching sick um, in 2021. And mind you, I have my own place and stuff like that now. So I was just, come in, check in, stuff like that. Um, so she was in a hospital and she just was, once she had a moment where she was just tripping. She didn't want to be at that hospital. She didn't like their food. She didn't like them. She wanted to go home. Like it was all the things. And my dad called me. He was like, "Boo boo, like your mama tripping. Like I don't know if it's the medicine. I don't know if it's for real. Like I just don't know." And I'm like, "Well, like daddy, like what's really going? Like what are you trying to do? Like what's up?" So he ended up bringing her home, and I want to say she was probably home for about maybe 2, 3 days at this time, and uh, they were sitting in the living room and they were praising the Lord for everything that He's done, for just, being with them, for, guiding them and things of that nature, for getting her, bringing her home. Everything's okay. And she said she gets up and she's getting ready to go to the bathroom. And he asked her, he was like, "Pooh," because he called her Pooh, like Pooh Bear. He was like, "Pooh, you talk to Boo Boo?" And she was like, "No." He was like, "Well, where is she?" He's looking out the window, asking about me. And she said she gets up and she goes to the bathroom. And he followed her to the room, you know. And by the time she comes out the bathroom, he's laid out on the bed beside his Bible. Um, and then, of course, that traumatized her. She calls the ambulance. They come, they revive him, take him to the hospital. This is where it got me because it was always the three of us. But this particular time, she, mind you, I live up the street. Not really up the street, but I'm in the area. I live in the area. We're like 15 minutes away. But she calls my mother, who lives in Maryland. And I'm like, and they call me. When I say they, my mom and my mother and my cousin, um, one of my older cousins, they called me to tell me to go to the house. And I'm like, "Well, why mom didn't just call me? Like I live right here. Why did she call you?" So at this point is where I realized, like, because this is a serious thing, why wouldn't you call me first? So this is when I realized, like, even though she raised me, like as her daughter and things like that, like it's gonna be certain times in her life, especially something so serious like this, where you're going to, lean on your real daughter, you know. So that I think that was I guess you could say that was the first time I felt like a granddaughter. Um, and that made me feel a certain kind of way. I'm not gonna lie, that made me feel a certain kind of way. Like I literally felt like a granddaughter because I was like, why wouldn't you call me first? Um, so when they called me, I went to the house. Uh, some of her friends were there. She was very, very, very hysterical. Um, So they stayed there with her. I went to the hospital to see what was going on. They ended up rushing him to another hospital. Of course, I couldn't get in because it was still like COVID standings and stuff like that. So I had to wait for them to bring him out to put him on the helicopter to take him to that hospital. So they put him on a helicopter. I was out there with him. They put him on a helicopter. Some of the elders from the church came. They put him on a helicopter. Um, I just kind of sort of knew. I knew prior to that he had already had about three heart attacks. And the last one that he had, I was very much so hand on because I had a car then, so I was able to move around. Um, as far as like doctor's appointments and stuff like that. So I was coming down way more, setting up his medicine, making sure everything was cool. And then he got to the point to where he just didn't want to do right. And I was like, well, Daddy, you know what you're doing. Like, you know what you're doing. Like, you're older. You done had about 3 heart attacks already. About two. At this point, he had about two. I'm like, you had about 2 heart attacks already. You know, already been through wearing the vest and wearing this and wearing that. He didn't want to get a pacemaker. He didn't want to do this. He didn't want to do that. He just seemed like he was giving up. So I literally was like in the middle of the floor crying, begging, pleading for him to get it together. And he basically made up his mind. So when the time came and all of this was going on, I already knew if he didn't pull through, like, okay, it's gotten real. So when they got him down there, they basically called and told us, we have to make a decision. Either we're gonna keep him, on life support, which is going to make him a vegetable, make him not what he would want to be in life, or we just cut it, you know. So it was, it was difficult. It was difficult because me and my mom understood what we needed to do. And like I said, she wasn't the type of person to do any of those things. So I went by myself. She wanted me to take somebody, but I didn't want to. I just wanted to have that time with him. So I went by myself down there. Um, talked to the doctors. My uncle, he lives in Ireland now. So I did video with him so that he could, be involved in that process. And I just laid there like I did as a child, and I laid on his stomach, on his chest, and listened to his heart and his stomach. Um, just just laid there, and I feel like he knew I was there. I knew he knew I was there, and I just talked to him, and I laid there and I did that, um, and then I left. I left, and that was that. He lasted probably about a week. About a week, people was able to go visit him and have time with him. Um, and yeah, he lasted for about a week. Um, and during that time, it would be my bed would be by the window, and birds would come sing to me in the morning, and it would be beautiful. Like that's how I would wake up, birds singing. He used to be a part of. So him, it was him, my mom, my great great aunt, my great great uncle who introduced him and my mom, and some other family members, and they had a group called the New Light Singers, and they would walk, they would go around and sing. They were very, very good. They did this for years. They would go around and sing, and he would do the bass, even though he was not a bass. He would do a bass, and you couldn't tell him he wasn't a bass. He'll be up there, nose just flared up. He had a nice size nose, but it was like a pointy nose, and his nostrils were huge. So he'll be up there, nostrils big. He think he doing something. You couldn't tell him he wasn't a babe. Like he was so serious about it. but they did a lot of like quartet singing and stuff like that. So music is definitely a big part of my family. So when the birds would come sing to me, I knew that that was just comfort. You know, I knew that that was comfort. Um, and I just paid attention, you know, to all of that. Um, so it became hard for me to go to the house. It became hard for me to go in that direction. I most definitely was over there, you know, with my mom, you know, during the process of planning for the funeral and stuff like that. Like I was over there. But after that, it was just hard to just go and just sit, you know, and just it just didn't it was just it wasn't right. It just wasn't right. I couldn't believe what was my new reality. Um, I just couldn't take it. I could not take it. I could not take it. It got to the point to where I didn't even want to be in the area. I didn't want to see or feel anything that reminded me of him. Um, I just wanted to act like this never happened, like this wasn't what was going on. So, in a way, it's just like, well, if I completely leave, like, I don't want to be in a DMV at all. Like, I don't want nothing to do with none of this. So, uh, I packed up. We moved to Tennessee, and literally, literally, that's when all hell broke loose. When I went to Tennessee, I don't have no family in Tennessee. I don't know nothing about Tennessee. Ain't never. I went to visit Tennessee twice in my life, and both of them was Nashville. Once I went when I was like a teenager, and the other time I went. Well, I went a teenager. It was like my early adulthood. Um, but I went then, and I was with family, and then I went with uh my boyfriend at the time, and that was like a few months before we moved there. So I really didn't know much about Tennessee. So we was just going. Um, and I was just running from all my emotions, running from all my problems. Like if I get away from here, I don't have to think about none of this. Um, you know, leaving my poor little mama behind, and I felt so bad about that. Um, because it was just like, you know, my aunt had left, my dad left, I left, so this leaves her, you know, just there by herself, which caused her to go through depression, of course. Like it was just terrible. So me moving to Tennessee, that added to it because not only am I not with her, but she know I don't know nobody in Tennessee, or she know I don't have no family out there. She know I'm out there, you know, with this guy, you know, and she's just worried about me and all of that. So that didn't help at all whatsoever. Um, so I moved to Tennessee, and oh my gosh, when I say literally, like everywhere I went, it's just still a reminder of my dad. Like it was just his name was everywhere. Um, Without even getting into this part of the story, it was a mental institute out there. The name of that was Alvin C. York. My dad's name was Alvin C. Evans. Like, why? Why? Everywhere I turned, it was a Seventh day Adventist church. Like, okay, why? Why? It was all the things um, that still connected me and reminded me to home, or that connected me to him in some way, shape, or form. It was just like I could not get away from it. I felt like Jonah. I felt like Jonah in a whale. You know, like I just could not get away from what the Lord knew I was or was capable of doing. I was running from it all. I was running from my calling. I was running from my emotions. I was running from it all. And when I say I was out there in Tennessee, all the wrong and bad things, like all the wrong and bad things. The only thing I did positive was keep a job and keep my head above water. Other than that, everything was bad. Everything was bad. So I just now that I've gone through the healing and things of that nature, I'm just so grateful for my dad, um, what he gave me in life. I see what he was doing. I see who he had become. A lot of the things that people didn't understand that he would do, I find myself doing, like just being isolated from certain people, not engaging in certain things. I would literally sit there and not knowing that this is happening, but I would see my dad sit there and listen for God to respond to him. Um, or I would see him, like I said, work on his spiritual growth, reading the Bible more, doing things a little different, moving a little different than I would expect him to, or anybody would expect him to. He definitely wasn't a regular person. Like I said, very interesting. Um, where I'm at in life now, I know he would be proud. I know he would encourage me to keep going because it's not easy. Um, it's just not easy. And it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with, grieving over him because that was something that I always feared in life. When I was younger, the first thing that I experienced where I recognized fear was me, him, and my mom. We was getting in a boat, and me and my dad was on the boat, and the guy was helping my mom get on the boat, and the boat drifted out a little bit, and so she ended up falling in the water. And mind you, me and my dad are already on the boat. So he got up and, him and the other guy tried to pull her up onto the boat, and it took a little while. She don't know how to swim. She ain't a water person. She ain't none of that. So she's like hysterically screaming, and, they're trying to get her up. She thinks she's about to drown. Like, it was just a lot. And that was my first time experiencing fear. And it was just like, oh my gosh, if I ever lose one of them, what will happen to me? What would I do? So years later, when that happened and I lost him, um, I just didn't take it well. I didn't take it well at all. And I made all the wrong decisions, all the wrong decisions. But by the grace of God, he got me out. He pulled me through. And now I'm here. And I'm just so grateful for that. And like I said, I know that my dad would be proud of me. I know that he would encourage the path that I'm on now. And I'm just grateful for the foundation that they gave me. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I probably complained growing up, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Um, and it's I really do just look back over everything, and I really do be like, thank you, Lord, because now I get it, now I get it, now I understand. And that's what everything, that's what being a parent, that's what being, going through this spiritual journey. It's not easy every single day. I got to wake up and figure out how to die daily and how to live my life in a way that glorifies God. So that's I mean that's it, you know. Uh that's the yeah, that's it. Like that's how I was with my dad. That's life with Lotus, y'all. And these these you'll see how a lot of stuff I didn't pay attention to a lot of these things, but you'll see as I, talk more how a lot of things are just so connected. Um, and it might help you pay more attention to your life because you'd be surprised how so much is connected. I never really knew about spiritual warfare until a few years ago, till he died, honestly. I started to really get into, like, I knew, but I didn't know. I'm not gonna say I didn't experience it, but I didn't pay attention to how it really works until a few years ago. So, um, yeah, yeah, life has been life for me all my life. All my life. And I just feel glad now that I'm in a place to where I could reflect on it and share it. Cause I didn't share a lot of my stories growing up out of um, respect and honor for my parents. I never wanted them to have shame of my decisions or the things that I went through. I never wanted them to blame themselves for anything that I experienced or went through because they always wanted to save me from everything. They wanted to protect me from everything. So I never wanted them to feel that they didn't do anything outside of what they wanted to do because they did. They protected me as much as they could. They saved me. They were my heroes. Um, they were my everything. And I never wanted them to feel anything other than that. So now that they're both gone, I feel free enough to talk and tell my story uh, without, hurting any feelings. 'Cause I don't care about nobody else's feelings. Honestly speaking, it was all about them and respecting them and honoring them. Outside of that, I don't care about nobody's feelings. I'm not about to sugarcoat nothing. Um, you all, I mean, whoever, you know who you are, you know what you did, you know what you didn't do. Uh, Either way, if you part of my story, I'm talking about you. Yeah, so it's just, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I feel free now to be me, to share my story and hope that it helps and pray that it heals other people as I heal. Um, and yeah, that's that. So, like I said, I, it's going to get better over time. But thank you so much for joining in on Life with Lotus. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope that it helps you in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just grateful for this opportunity. And I hope to see you again on the next one. I'll be having so many more interesting stories to tell. Uh, some people that I'm going to be talking to help tell these stories. It's going to get real good, y'all. It's going to get real good. So if you have any questions about anything, if you need prayer, if you, just need someone to talk to or whatever, like I'm here. Comment below, subscribe to my page. It's so much more to come. And I just look forward to hanging with y'all. Life and with Lotus. Let's do this, y'all. Bye.